I was struck by the beauty of the idea of being, by the purity, the clarity of the idea of being versus the idea of meaning. Do you think we give too much thought and too much credit to meaning, and we don't think enough about being, about the being of things?
This I don't know. I can only tell you what I like. Okay. So there is indeed this difference that we, in our Western culture and thinking, we tend to think about in abstract terms about the things, and so we are a bit different from the things themselves, from the appearance or the shining of the things. And I'm, of course, always have been interested in both, but as an architect I'm actually much more interested to talk about the thing itself, to be right there in the experience. So there's an intellectual experience about something, there's a physical, emotional experience about something. So I'm on the second part, but I'm not looking down onto the other, but I can see that the other one is then all of a sudden becomes thought on paper, from thought on paper to thought on paper, and then it's all thought on paper. Where is the thing? God damn it.
But nevertheless, you can't escape thought, and you do not escape thought yourself. I mean, what you say is that you have this very physical reaction to spaces, this very physical reaction to things at first.
Sure.
But then you intellectualize it. I mean, you even write books about it. So thought does serve a function in a relationship with things, doesn't it?
Yeah, we need the brains. That's good that we have, that we can think. I'm not against it. But when you say I intellectualize it, I'm hesitating to say yes. I know what you mean. But let me think a moment whether I'm intellectualizing my experience. I think I'm trying to understand my experience, but the experience provokes a reaction somewhere in my body. I have no idea where. Some people say it's in the heart. And then I try to understand. And when I start to try to understand, of course, everything I have ever seen and thought of and so starts to enter the picture. And then it helps me to understand what I have to do. But the important thing is probably for me that I start with the emotion.
Because it's sometimes also a physical reaction. I do experience that, but sometimes I love architecture. I think I love architecture too much. No, because sometimes I prefer buildings to people, which is
okay.
But sometimes I see a building and I have this sense of being overcome by beauty, overwhelmed by beauty, and by the perfectness of that building, and it almost gives you a physical sensation which could be ineffable, which could be beyond meaning. Would you say that beauty is beyond meaning?
Yeah, but it's an emotion, it's something, whatever, maybe it's an emotion, and we talk about it, but we don't reach it. So, I mean, if it would be, we can never explain it. That's we always have to try, and we will always try, and it's beautiful. But the experience of beauty, the moment of beauty, we all know from different experiences, and I think it's something incredibly humane in a way. It belongs to us. We experience beauty.
When you've written a lot about the idea of making things, which is a very beautiful idea. For example, brewing coffee is a very beautiful activity, or I know you've made some things with your hands as well. Making things with your hands is a very beautiful. Is that a way for us to try and capture beauty, for us to become one with beauty, or why is making things beautiful in a way?
Do you think it has something to do with the process? I don't know.
I know you've made more things.
Never came to my mind. Beauty comes to me by surprise, the experience of beauty. Or and when I come into this house, I know it's beautiful. I've been here.
You were here last time.
Yeah, so it's still a surprise. I would say, yeah, no, this is not a surprise. I have seen this house. But it's like if you look at a good piece of art, I guess, you look at it, and the piece of art tells you something else later or before, because you're not the same person anymore when you come, obviously.
Because not only you read the house or you read the work of art, but it reads you as well.
Yeah, it provokes something in the chemistry of your being, of our beings, and so it's different. So the last time, for instance, I didn't realize the big bourgeois hacienda scale of this building. I had the feeling afterwards, this is a small, modest little house.
Really?
Yeah, and now I'm here and I see this is upper-class architecture.
Did you?
So I looked at something, obviously, I was focused on something else when I was here last time. That's how we are.
Because you changed politically?
Yeah, that's how we are. We experience things different and we experience beauty different. And a good piece of art in music or in architecture or in literature, as we know, has this fantastic capacity to provoke, has a depth, right? It's deep enough and unfathomable, or so, how you call this, you cannot really figure it out.
Unfathomable?
Yeah.
How come that you decided to become an architect? Because from reading you, I also think that you would have made a very fine writer and a writer of literature. You have, the start of thinking architecture is a very Proustian style, in which you have this door handle that serves a bit like the Madeleine in Proust, where it instills the mechanism of memory. Why did you think that your way, your path to creating atmospheres was in architecture and not music, which you like very much, or literature, which you seem to practice as well?
This is by chance, because I'm born into a family of craftsmen. So this was the first thing I learned, that my father wanted me to take over his shop. I'm the oldest son.
And you wanted to do what your father told you?
Yeah, he said, this is a family tradition. That's the oldest takes over the shop of the father, right? And goes on and so on. So that's how I start. But you're right, I could have, but there I knew already a lot. When I was 20, my friends, they had a high school degree, and I could make furniture. So I was feeling a little bit bad then that I didn't have a high school degree yet. I didn't feel so good that I could make furniture. But when I look back, it was pretty good what I did.
It reads you now in another way. Maybe it is also the architecture.
I would like to be a philosopher, I would like to be a musician, I would like to be, and so on.
Aren't you a philosopher? Aren't you a philosopher of architecture and of space?
And so for me to say, I like to be an architect.
No, because architecture also gives you a chance of having an immediate relationship with things.
Yeah, sure.
Because in literature, you're always mediated by words.
Right.
You don't have, when a novel or an essay or a poem sits before you, lies before you, it's not able to overwhelm you just by being in front of it. You have
to read it.
Words. And when you come into a space such as this, the space makes you overcome by beauty. You can't help reading it. The moment you get in the space, you start reading the space.
You're exposed to architecture. You can buy the Emily Dickinson poems and have them on a table and never open them. That's what you talk about. But once you start reading them, there it is. But architecture, of course, if you go there, that's it. It's immediate in this way. No. But this is also the case with music.
You say music is the mother of all arts.
Yeah, to me, yeah. This is also the case with music. So I come here yesterday evening, and there was music going in there was background music the whole evening.
What kind of music?
Nothing special. Background music. So I'm so glad that there's no music today. Okay? This gets forgotten. The same thing is with music. Music gets to you right away. But that's why not in this specific case, but in the world, it's full of background music. You can hardly stand it in any restaurant anymore without having something in the back. Gets to you unconsciously. That's a sidetrack, but I'm just saying this because I hate it so much. Okay, go back to your question.
No, it was good. A new one. Because I was also struck by reading you with the idea of noise. And I believe you were talking not only about oral noise, not just about sounds, extraneous sounds, but also about the way in which life is full of visual noise, of emotional noise, intellectual noise. I would say part of your work has been in combating and harnessing noise. I believe your projects have very little noise and become some sort of a wall against noise. Have you always been struck by this idea of this extraneous element tormenting one while one tries to go on with one's life?
Well, if you start to think, so I do houses, I start to think how they sound. So what I extremely like from my youth is that as a boy, I like the sound of my mother in the kitchen. Everybody knows this, huh? We all have this a bit. So you're here as a child, and you know, oh, she's there. Perfect. That's why I like the sound in the background. Now, same thing. So, and I like the way it comes over to us. And here I even like to hear a little bit of the city. It's not too much, some cars passing, I know where I am. But I think as an architect, it's nice to control also the sound of your spaces, because the spaces, they amplify, they transport, they give the character to the sound, as we know. So I think we should be careful about that. And I try to first reduce the noise and then open up the field of the new set of...
Normal noise or all kinds of noise?
Everything.
In a way, what I understand from what you tell me now about noise is that you like sound, or even noise, to be organic. You talk about the sounds of the city, you talk about the sounds of this place, about the sounds coming from the garden. What bothers you is noise that doesn't belong in the experience one is living. Would that be the definition of noise? Something that doesn't belong?
I would start out with the things should sound the way they look. I like that. Very simple, but I like. This space looks like this, so it sounds like this. So no acoustic engineer has been here and has been changing this that you wouldn't hear anything. So I also like if you go to like a jazz club, where you have, or even a big open air, where you have only direct sound, no reflected sound. Then everything comes directly out of the speaker into your ear, no space involved. I also like this. I like everything. But if all of a sudden it's sort of like trash, that you would take a sound, I don't know why this is, people have the feeling that you have to bring sound all over. Like how should I say this in English? It's like a piece of trash you distribute all over the world. There's always sound. You littering, yeah. Sound littering. Yeah, that's a good one, huh? Okay, and then you go to you want to buy. Lately, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Vienna, and I wanted to buy something in the shops. So as we know, every shop has a sound concept. Holy shit. Then you're there, and then sometimes, or in a restaurant, I ask the person, could you maybe lower this a little bit or so? And then, oh no, that's not possible. It's exactly according to concept. I suffer from that, that's why I said.
Human beings don't necessarily sound the way they look. It's easier for a building to sound the way it looks
true.
than for a human being. Is architecture maybe a way of trying to give the world the order that humanity doesn't give it?
Well, architecture is part of humanity, and so you can see 99% is not so much ordered.
Would you say it is beyond humanity? I'd like to believe that it is. It's made by man, but I would say it sometimes transcends man.
So what do you understand by humanity?
The imperfect, the noisy, the contradictory, the living thing that is not capable of generating an atmosphere or an environment for someone else, but only just for itself and in a very truncated way. That's why I told you I prefer buildings.
Okay.
Building a good building.
Yeah.
A good building is perfect.
Yeah.
A good human being is far from perfect. Wouldn't you say that architecture is one of our ways of trying to order things which we are incapable of ordering within ourselves?
Okay, I know what you mean. I would personally use not order, I would use something else. I would say, but I'm sure it's the same, what you mean. I would say human beings, they can kill each other and make wars and be brutal, but human beings can also produce works of art. And something which you have a feeling transcends normal life. So you call this order, might call it beauty, something like that. And that, I agree, that's deeply humane. I would like to believe in this. Yeah, true.
Well, the humane is better than the human.
Yeah, it's the idea of the human, and so on.
Because it also seems that you would be someone that wants to give pleasure to others. When you describe the atmospheres of the buildings, of the spaces that have struck you particularly, it seems that my reading would be you become the best version of yourself when you're in a space such as that, and everything that's in it becomes the best version of themselves, and that is deeply pleasurable. Would you say that as an architect to try to bring that to people?
I would say yes.
Thank you.
Good.